Le Moudre Qui Rit, a Crossout garage inspection with Dangerously Incompetent. I fancied having a crack at Clan Wars, so because I happen to have 2 harvesters and a spark sitting in storage, I thought, oh, I'll make a twin harvester spark build. Yay! Rummaged around on the exhibition for a bit of inspiration, found something that was very like this. Not this one, but another one. This seems to be quite, well, commonly repeated at any rate. So it's got the twin harvesters, and it's got the sparks, and it's got 2 wheels up the front. They're all steering wheels, and in an odd configuration, slightly poked out, and then the rear wheels are inside the frame, so they're very close together. They're also steering wheels, and the effect is to give it a very nice tight turning circle. So that was good, but when it came to harvesting hovers, because I was practicing in missions, trying it out in missions before I tried it out in Clan Wars, and the hovers would just float over the top, get a little bit of damage from me sparking them, but apart from that, not a lot. So that's so I tried putting on sort of hooks, structural hooks up here, spikes on them to catch the hover as it went over, and then hopefully lift up one end and tip down the end next to the harvesters, and it get ground up. But that didn't work very well because the structural bits tended to get shot off before I got close to them. Then I thought, why not tip the harvesters on the side, mount them vertically? That way they are, up here, which is at a good height to get hovers. Yeah, and sure enough, I tried that, and I was going through hovers like a hot knife through butter. Marvellous. Except, mounted vertically, they take a lot less room, and that left these 2 wheels very exposed from frontal shots and people coming in on a sort of corner, and I was losing the wheels. And because the way this build is built, there are very few connections, so it's only a couple of bits fall off, and then the generator, the Apollo down there, just falls off, and all bits, it falls apart really easily. That was the other weakness for this build that I found in the exhibition. So I tried putting structure bits out, and then putting snow plows and terrible bars over the wheels in order to protect them, because the bumpers are resistant to melee weapons. And that worked okay until the structural bits that were holding the bumpers got shot, and then the bumpers just fell off before they'd suffered any damage to speak of. So that didn't work very well. But then I thought, aha, what if I take this wheel, can we write that? I take this wheel layout, and instead of having the 2 at the front, I have the 1 pair at the front, because then I could have got frame around the outside of the wheels, and I can hang the bumpers off that. So that's what I did. So let's get out of the exhibition and go to my one. So if we go into build, and then we can raise it up and can see it more easily. So you've got this pair of wheels inside a frame, and then 2 pairs of wheels behind. They're all steering wheels, and they're in the same configuration. And if we do a quick test drive, and quite a tight turning circle, that'll do. And with the frame on the outside, I can put some bumpers, a nice shock absorber and a Terry Bull bar and a cheapo off-roader bumper around the frame, and now the wheels are hidden away and from other harvesters. Mounting my harvesters vertically, and that does a nice job of protecting the spark. It limits my field of fire with the spark. I can only shoot straight forward, but it stops the spark being shot off long before you get anywhere close to anybody, because otherwise it's very exposed. And it's more open towards the rear, because then I can look down and spark the cap cans and the turrets and whatever that is on the ground, being laid on the ground, which is half the reason the spark is, well, a third of the reason the spark is there. The other three parts for the spark being there are homing missiles. Sparks are great at killing homing missiles, and slowing other builds down so I can catch them with the harvesters, which is especially important for hovers, because even though the hovers have been nerfed and they're supposed to be slowed, over uneven ground they can get away unless I get close. Well, that's what the chameleon helps with. Where's it gone? There we go. Chameleon might get you close enough to light them up with a spark, and then they're going slow, a lot slower, and you can catch up and cut through them. It does quite well at that, which I'm pleased with, because that's what I was aiming to do with this build. And it also works against other harvester builds. Well, it's on a par with other harvester builds because they've got 2 harvesters mounted horizontally, I got 2 vertically, and we end up butting noses unless I manage to be clever and use either the chameleon or the cap can. Drop the cap can, get them to get hooked on it, and then I can get to their sides a lot more easily. What else did I want to mention? The only problem with reversing the wheel layout is now the cabin, the Bigfoots rather, are too tall to fit under the cabin and the frame, so the cabin's got to come backwards, and now what am I got to attach the harvester to? Well, the core of it is a Colossus, because it's got 360 durability, and then it's got a load of other structural parts around it to help protect it from explosive devices and so on and so forth, to keep these harvesters up front, because I don't want a teeny weeny little bit of structure here that gets shots off and then the harvesters fall off. But this layout seems to work pretty well, because if the harvesters come off, it's because they've suffered damage rather than this lot being shot off. What else do we want to mention? That's the meat and great. Yeah, that's the meat of it. That's the reason I've got this funny layout with 2 wheels tucked away at the front, a little laughing at the front if I manage to kill someone, so I can grind it in, rub it in. A couple more bumpers to support the engine and the supports from direct shots at the front. Which cabin? Well, we got the favourite cabin. Messing around, and I eventually just picked on that one because it's got the speed and the tonnage and the mass limit I needed, and you can fire off the spark. And when you're next to someone, you can fire off the spark constantly, and then once it's overheated, hit the favourite's special power of resetting all the accumulated heat of all mounted weapons and modules, and then you fire the spark for a nice long time again and mess them up and hopefully reach something vulnerable. Oh, speaking of vulnerable things, you'll see I've mounted the Apollo behind the cabin. That protects it from most shots. Doesn't protect it so much from the side. There's a bit of structure on the side to protect it. Other builds tend to have them between the wheels, but the build I started with actually mounted it underneath the frame, which meant it was only held on by a couple of structural pieces, which seemed really weak to me. So there isn't room to fit it in between the frames on this build, so I stuck it on top, and I've put the extended ammo pack underneath. It's between, so you can see it's between the frames here, and then it's a bit protected. I should really put more stuff under here to protect it, but it's quite tough here, and I haven't noticed it going boom yet, unless the rest of the vehicle is actually disintegrated and got no wheels and no frame, and yeah. So the ammo pack is not a vulnerability. But I've got no guns. What have I got with an ammo count? No guns, no missiles. It's the cap can. Without the ammo pack, there's only 5 cap cans you can chuck out, and I can chuck them out quite quickly because partly because the Colossus Does the Colossus help it? I think the Colossus helps it. It's not a module though, so maybe it isn't. Huh. But the cap can pops out quite quickly. Let's test drive it. So, plop, poop it out the back, and then whiz around. So it's not the cap can doesn't take very long at all to reload. Pop. There's another one. And you can pop out as many cap cans as you want. The only problem is they have a timer on. They're only active for so long. See, that one's gone now. Unless you got a maximum number of cap cans. Oh, quick experiment then. First science. So that was the third one. This is the second one. It's not disappearing as fast as the other one. Let's drop another one. Yeah, there we go. You can have 2 cap cans max. I thought I had more than that out in battle before, but anyway, that's another experiment for another time. That's all the parts. How does it perform? Quite well. It does what I intended to do, which is make a mess of hovers. Which in missions there's loads of hovers. In clan wars there's fewer hovers, but they're still there. But once you catch them, it's not horrendously fast. So catching them can be an issue. So you got to use your smarts, use your chameleon, and use the cap can to get them, or someone else's cap can to get them, or they got too close to someone. Against other harvesters, you're on a par. You've got to be smart in order to get other harvesters, really, because otherwise you're grinding at them with 2 harvesters, and they're grinding at you with 2 harvesters, and possibly a Draco as well, and then you're in trouble. On spider builds, this mounting your harvesters vertically is a lot more effective than mounting them horizontally, because if they've gone mounted their legs down the side, there's a space in the front you can fit these 2 harvesters in, and the space in the rear you can fit these 2 harvesters in, because those mechanical legs, they're resistance to melee weapons as well. So if you mount them, end up pushing against their legs, you can sit there for ages and they can just shoot you before you've destroyed their legs and got onto their main body. But with this build, with the vertical harvesters, you can get in the front or the back, or sometimes in between the legs on the side, and get to the body straight away. Don't have to worry about the legs. So that's a bonus. Oh, downsides. The only downside, really. Well, there's let's show you the spark arc. So it won't fire, will fire. So there's quite a bit of space up the front where it won't fire. But on the other hand, it survives a lot better with the harvesters covering it. And you can see there, it rolls over when you're cornering, especially cornering at speed, and then the plows tend to snag a bit. That's the only major downside with this build, because when you're chasing after someone and then you snag and you slowed right down and they got away, so they get another set of shots at you. It's like, oh. The other thing this build isn't terribly good at is wedges coming at you at the front. You want to get your harvesters to them, but there's a bit of clearance there. There's more than enough clearance for a good wedge to get under you and just lift you, and then you're helpless. So if you find yourself face to face with a wedge, what you do is you go backwards really fast, as fast as you can. You poop out a cap can and then spark them to slow their approach. So hopefully you run over your cap can and then they run over your cap can and get caught. And at that point you drive around until you can get to their side and bzzzt. But all in all, I'm quite happy with the build. I'm going to slap it in the exhibition in case you want to try it out. And it's going to be under the name, where have we gone? There we are. D_I space capital M Moudre, capital Q, Qui Rit. with a capital Q and a capital R. That's it for this garage inspection, and I'll see you in Clan Wars.